is Wednesday, March 12th, 8:35. We are at quorum. Yep, we are at quorum. We have quorum. So we're going to be hearing 4 bills today. The first bill that we have up is Senator Gustafson's, Senate File 1323. Senator Gustafson moves 1323 before the committee. Whenever you're ready, you may begin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, committee members, and thank you for the opportunity to present SF 1323. It's the Minnesota Math Corps bill. So I want to thank my co-authors, Senator Rarick, Senator Clark, Senator Duckworth. Minnesota Math Corps is the state's largest math tutoring program, reaching more than 6,000 students in over 250 schools so far this year. Math Corps marries the people power of AmeriCorps with evidence-based math interventions to accelerate students' math performance. So today we're going to hear from Principal Fanth from Barnum, Minnesota about the importance of Math Corps and her school's intervention strategies. And you're also going to hear from Dr. Pete Nelson, who has helped ensure Math Corps is both effective and cost effective. And members, if you get the opportunity to see the program in action, I strongly encourage you to do it. I saw it last year. It really is amazing. And I know Senator Rarick was able to see the program and talk to staff in his district too about the importance of students mastering foundational math skills. And I will just say that out of all the programs that we do, this one is just a win-win-win. Students are learning math. They're pulled into small groups so that they can learn it in a more effective way. We're also putting more teachers in classrooms, which is always a plus. And then also this is a large statewide effort, and it is training those teachers who are helping with AmeriCorps to become future teachers down the road. So it sort of checks all the boxes that we look for when we're looking for good bills in education finance. So thank you, Madam Chair, and I will turn it over to my testifiers.
Okay, Jody Fanth and Dr. Pete Nelson, if you want to make your way to the testifying table. Ms. Fanth, please introduce yourself for the committee. You may begin when you're ready.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Jody Fanth. I'm the principal at Barnum High School. We are 30 miles south of Duluth, a 712 high school building with roughly 305 students. For many greater Minnesota districts like ours, passing operating referendums is a challenge and resources are tight. Hiring and training intervention specialists is not an option. That is why Math Corps and Reading Corps are absolutely essential to addressing the needs of students, particularly for districts like Barnum. We rely on Math Corps to support our Tier 2 students. Math Corps approach includes providing evidence-based interventions to students individually and in small groups, and has been incredibly successful in progressing our students in the right direction. Our Math Corps tutor, Roxanne, works directly with 7th and 8th grade teachers to understand current curriculum so she can provide individualized support to her students and support the curriculum. Her support is critical to help students feel more successful on their own and in the classroom. Math Corps gives our students confidence in their abilities and provides them with the pieces they have been missing in their learning. Watching the confidence of these students watching the confidence these students are building is translating into the classroom. If they can answer the question correctly with their tutor, they are willing to take the chance and answer questions in the classroom too. One of our students, who was resistant to math and was lacking confidence in his abilities, really started to thrive. My apologies. As he worked with Roxanne and built his understanding of the whole and rational numbers. In fact, he joined the Math League and landed the highest score in a recent meet. Without Math Corps, school districts will be challenged to find ways to support students with our critical math skills. We've seen the impact firsthand in Barnum, and if I could bring on 4 Math Corps members, I would do it because they make a world of difference. Please reconsider investing in this program. Our students need this important resource, and I know schools across the state could use it too. Thank you for your opportunity to testify.
Thank you, Ms. Fanth. Dr. Nelson, please introduce yourself for the committee. You may begin your testimony.
Madam Chair, Committee, my name is Pete Nelson, and it's my privilege to be here today testifying in support of Senate File 1323. And thank you also to Senator Gustafson for your support of Math Corps. I think your efforts have helped ensure that kids across the state get access to support they need in math. I want to start. I have to do some slides, and I hope that I think they were handed out. But I want to start by noting something that is likely not new to anybody in the room, which is that in recent years in our state, we've seen a decline in students' math scores and in their math skills. And this is relevant and alarming because these scores, these skills, are uniquely predictive of lifetime earnings and are associated with the economic health of our state. But it's not just an 8th grade issue. It's not a middle school or a high school issue. What we're looking at when we see these scores go down is the cumulative effect of falling behind. Because unlike reading, something that's unique to math is that the proficiency rates will decline over time. So if you look at proficiency rates in 3rd grade versus reading and math is actually higher than reading, but every year thereafter, proficiency rates go down as kids age. And that's because if you miss something important, you are at a significant disadvantage the next year. And that effect can compound over time. So what we need to do is create more time for students to learn, more opportunities to practice with high quality instructional materials and high quality support. There's not a lot of time to go around, and so there is a lot of focus on tutoring programs, especially recently, because we can introduce that element of time, especially tutoring programs that focus in the area of math on foundational math skills. Now, Math Corps is one of those programs, but it's not just one of those programs. It's a program that has virtually no peers. There are a number of external agencies that evaluate programs like Math Corps and other related programs. And in every case, Math Corps is identified as the gold standard. And that is because it's a program that has a commitment to evidence building. It's a commitment to accountability and continuous improvement. So if you look at the impact evaluations for Math Corps, it's not just about does the program work, but it's about how does it work and under what conditions does it work best, because it's a program that is consistently, for decades, been focused on how it can become more efficient and more effective. And it's also a national service program. So the people, the tutors, are AmeriCorps members. They're people from our communities who are trained to deliver these interventions. And they're also folks, many of whom will end up as teachers, as paras, as other professionals in education settings. So when we look at the effects of Math Corps, there have been 2 randomized controlled trials, which is the most rigorous way that you can evaluate a program like this. And in both of those studies, what we saw was an effect size that's equivalent to an additional semester's worth of learning. So when we're talking about the need to introduce time, that is what Math Corps is doing. So relative to students that didn't receive Math Corps, those are students that are now a semester ahead in terms of learning. These effects are also what the program sees annually every year as students come in 1, 2, 3 grade levels behind in need of foundational skill support. You see major gains in those skills, positioning kids to better benefit from the core instruction that's already happening in the classroom. The program is also efficient relative to other programs. In an independent evaluation of a number of different tutoring programs looking at hours of tutoring that produces 1 month of growth, Math Corps was the most efficient by a wide margin. And the last thing I want to note is that I've been talking about skills. The other side of the need here is how people think about themselves in the relationship with math. And what we've seen with Math Corps is that students become increasingly confident that they can tackle, in particular, if they're faced with a difficult problem in class, they're increasingly confident that if they work hard, that they can figure it out. And that's what we want. We want problem solvers. And Math Corps not only helps build the skills, but it positions kids to be in the driver's seat when they're looking at what they want to do when they go to high school, advanced math coursework, trade work. So thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. And I think I'll pass it over.
Thank you so much, Dr. Peterson. I appreciate it. Yes, I'm sitting a little far over. I didn't want to move my stuff between Senator Kunesh coming back. Members, questions? Senator Rarick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And quick question. I know this is not in our committee's purview, but in Barnum, I know Roxanne is there. How long has she been your math corps volunteer?
Principal
Senator-
Fanth.
Senator Rarick, Madam Chair. Roxanne is in her 4th year. I wish I could keep her forever and ever. She is phenomenal. She has built relationships with students, and the program Math Corps has done wonders for our students. I really hope that we can continue to have Math Corps in our district, and I hope that nationally, Math Corps will look at allowing tutors to continue beyond 4 years.
Senator Rarick?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Before Roxanne had answered the ad to come teach, how long had you had that posting available and looking for someone to take this position?
Principal Fanth.
This is my 4th year in Barnum, so previous to my position, I'm not sure, to be honest.
Senator Rarick?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, members, this is something that I learned while I was visiting, and I think would appreciate if folks would like to join me. Again, this is coming from the federal level that Math Corps is coming, but they have a 4-year cap on how long someone can be the tutor in the school. And I think part of, as we ask questions, I think a lot of it was based around, it was intended originally to get folks in who were maybe on the pathway to becoming a teacher and getting some experience. And so thus the 4-year cap. But what we're seeing more and more, like Roxanne in Barnum, we're seeing folks who are maybe close to retirement or who are already retired who have taken this on and they love it. But that 4-year cap really puts that individual and the school in a tough spot. I know in Barnum, when Roxanne goes out and time's out, they're not quite sure who they're going to get to replace her. So I think, you know, it'd be great if we could write a joint letter or something kind of asking if they can't find someone to replace a current tutor, if that could continue to be extended until someone else could be found. So from what I witnessed, it was pretty incredible program that I think could use support. So thank you.
Senator Farnsworth, you had a comment or question?
Yes, thank you, Chair Kunesh. So this isn't a question specifically about Math Corps because I support it. It's the research, I think, is pretty clear that you do good work. The question is more about math in general, and I'm going to frame the question, talk about the READ Act, because we realized recently that the way we've been teaching reading for the last 20 years is garbage, and that's putting it lightly. And I think we're probably going to come to the same conclusion about math, that this whole idea of Common Core, the way we started to teach math about 15 or 20 years ago, is sort of the same. It's having the same impact that whole language reading had on reading. And so since we have a doctor here that's a principal researcher, I'm just wondering if you can comment just in general on the need to look at the way we're teaching math in schools in the same way that we looked holistically at how we're teaching reading in schools.
Go ahead.
Madam Chair, Committee, and Senator Farnsworth. So I think one of the things that we'll find in the context of math is that we have a need to focus on foundational skills in the same way with the READ Act, the importance of decoding skills. And learning some of the basic core reading skills. We'll see that in the same way in math, and it'll look a little bit different. But things like whole and rational number understanding, we know unequivocally that fraction understanding is something that is paramount for success, not only at the time that fractions are introduced, which is around 3rd grade, but long-term into high schools. You think about physics, chemistry, engineering. If you don't have an understanding of rational numbers, you're in a really, really difficult spot. And how that might show up, I think, in terms of instruction, is devoting more time to some of those core foundational skills that serve as the foundation for a lot of other elements. And then also recognizing that for students who are falling behind, because I also was trained as a school psychologist originally, so I would often have folks come in when they're middle school, high school, and so wondering why the student is falling behind, and they're just missing blocks of time from, say, 3rd grade to 5th grade, and recognizing that we need to also spend time remediating for those students who are in middle school and high school and building those foundational skills. Now, I do think that there may be some more general principles of effective instruction that may bleed over into math that were associated with the READ Act, things like explicit instruction, where people will think, how important is it that you can be fluent with math facts at a young age? That feels kind of like a dirty thing, but it's actually quite important because it frees up cognitive resources for you to do more complex math. And there are some ideological differences that exist in math that are somewhat similar to reading. Yeah.
Senator Farnsworth.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So you mentioned that there's these periods of times that they're missing. I'm not phrasing it exactly the way you said it, but so what's the reason? Or is it attendance problems that they're missing that instruction, or is it just the instruction is faulty? What's the reason that they're missing that instruction?
I think there's a lot of things going on, and one part is that math it's a difficult thing, right? It's building on itself one year after the next, and so that if you don't get content in 1 year, you are at a significant disadvantage, and the teachers don't necessarily. It's not easy to sort of make sure that you allow all students to reach mastery, and that's one of the reasons that we're really proud of Math Corps, is because in a typical classroom you're going to allow achievement to vary, or allow achievement to vary and keep time constant. Now in tutoring, you can allow time to vary and keep achievement constant. And that's not something that's easily attained in classrooms, so that's one part of it. But there is the other piece of this also is, I think, is you have to sort of commit to the idea that, there's idea in math that like we've got young scientists, we want people to be exploring. And I think that's true. I think we do want students out there doing really interesting things with math. But in order to do these things, you need to have a strong foundation. I think if we ignore that, if we ignore the foundation piece, it's getting in the way of students really experiencing the really interesting stuff going on with math, and the different applications of math concepts. And if you're in a typical classroom, you might, and I'd be curious to hear as well, but if you're in a typical classroom today, you're going to see more of an emphasis on that exploration piece. And what that does is that it puts students that are struggling to learn these foundational concepts at a disadvantage. And so if you think about policy changes or curriculum changes, it's really focused on devoting more time to those foundational skills and ensuring that there's a strong base before you're jumping into things that are a little bit more exploration. And I think it's very similar to the idea of whole language learning, where you just want to have kids. They were saying, well, just expose them to reading and interesting books, and they'll learn to read. And you ignore the fact that you need these foundational skills. There is a parallel in math.
Madam Chair, our other testifier would like a chance to respond to Senator Farnsworth, if you're okay with that.
Yeah, that would be great.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senator Farnsworth, I think part of our challenge in education is when you look at classroom sizes for first, second, and third grade. Oftentimes you have students ranging from 24 to 27, sometimes 30 in a classroom, and holes end up happening in their education because that's too many students in a classroom. Funding for elementary grade levels, I personally believe is not adequate in order to keep our class sizes small to reach all students. And Math Corps truly helps by being able to pull small groups, 2-3 students at a time, to really hone in on those foundational skills that need that extra support. If we could have Math Corps, their curriculum, which is evidence-based and best practice in all classrooms, I think that would be extremely helpful.
Dr., excuse me, you're not doctor, but you're the principal?
Yes.
I would love nothing more than to make those small classes. I wish we had the money to do that, and I wish the schools had the space to do that. I wish we had enough teachers to do that. So thank you for bringing that up. Senator Farnsworth, anything else? Anyone else want to talk about Math Corps? I will just put a plug in. I missed your presentation, so I'm sorry, but I was a teacher in elementary school for 20 years, and we had Math Corps and Reading Corps in our school. I created a little niche for them in my library, and so I saw firsthand what it was like to have, you know, all of those volunteers in our schools. And Senator Rarick, I'd love to send that letter with you. I don't know who we're going to send it to now that half of the federal employees are gone, and if we'd ever get a response for that. But I really do appreciate the work of Math Corps, and hope that we have it in our budget to continue to support them. So anyone else? Any comments? All right. So with that, I do believe that Senate File 1323 will be laid over for possible inclusion in our omnibus bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next we have, and I'll speak really slowly because Senator Boldon is on her way. She has Senate File 1275, and we'll just give her a second to get here, I think. I get it. Ready? All right, take a breath. Senator Boldon has Senate File 1275. Welcome to the committee. Senator Westlin, would you please move Senate File 1275?
So moved.
And I believe you have an A1 amendment. Is that correct, Senator?
That is correct, I believe.
Okay, and Senator Westlin, would you also move the A1?
So moved.
Thank you. So Senator Boldon, would you like to just share your amendment real quick?
Madam Chair, do you want me to speak to the amendment or the entire bill?
Let's do the amendment first so that we can get that adopted.
Madam Chair, I do not have the amendment in front of me.
Okay. Mr. Arneson will just give us a quick
Thank you.
explanation.
Madam Chair, members, the effect of the A1 amendment is to ensure that after the extended time allowance is adjusted for inflation annually, that allowance is then rounded to the nearest whole dollar. And then that cycle would kind of repeat each year. So it would always be rounded to the whole dollar, then adjusted for the next year, rounded, adjusted, et cetera.
All right, sounds like a plan. Any questions or comments on that? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting the A1 amendment, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, the amendment is adopted. Senator Boldon, to your bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, committee members, for hearing Senate File 1275. Extended time revenue provides funding for school districts serving students in alternative programs, typically offered through area learning centers, alternative education programs, or targeted services, which is before and after school programs, and summer programs for K through 8 students who struggle in traditional school settings and need additional time to develop skills and abilities. Under the current law, a district may count a student who participates in this programming for up to an additional 0.2 students in an average daily membership for the time a student spends receiving services. However, since fiscal year 2014, this funding has remained stagnant at $5,117 per pupil, even as the demand for additional educational support continues to grow. The lack of sufficient funding has made it challenging for districts to provide the necessary and educational opportunities, making it harder for students to access the support they need for credit recovery and graduation attainment. So, to address this growing need, this bill proposes to tie extended time revenue to future increases in the general education formula allowance. And with that, Madam Chair, I do have a few testifiers.
Thank you very much. I think our first testifier is the Executive Director of Community Education for Rochester Public Schools, Amy Ikes. If you are online, would you please introduce yourself, and then you may begin.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Thank you for having me today. I am Amy Ike, Director of Community Education with Rochester Schools. I'd love to take the opportunity to tell you a little bit about the impact here in Rochester. And I believe I'll share slides here. There we go. So as Senator Boldon indicated, the extended time revenue is not directly connected right now to the basic revenue formula. And in fact, they were connected, or they were the same base number back in 2005. However, the most recent change to the extended time revenue didn't occur until 2015 and hasn't changed in those 10 years. So what was intended to fund a 0.2 student in an average daily membership has really fallen down to about 14%. We are at a 30% gap. And if you look at this graphically, you can see the basic formula line is the yellow line going up. The extended time revenue had a little hiccup going down and back up around 13, 14, and then has been stagnant since then. So we now have a $433 per ADM gap since they were even in 2005. So here's the actual year-by-year base. Again, we were even in 2005. We are now far behind in the extended time revenue. And if you look at it from a 0.2 ADM, you can see how that multiplies out. So what does this mean? Rochester Public Schools, for example, was reimbursed nearly $900,000 in extended time revenue in the last full year, 2023-24, that we have data for. So if the extended time revenue base had kept up and that 30% of revenue were paid, we would have been able to serve 500 more students as a conservative number in our 6-week summer program. And I've included some math there, so hopefully the committee has access to these as well. So as you know, and you actually just heard during the math presentation, the needs are high right now in reading and math and other areas. Extended time revenue really is a critical tool to use for students who need extra time. And we know that some students do need extra time to get to the benchmarks for their age group. We also need high-quality educators to be able to address those needs. And when we had 4 years of summer funding through ESSER, we were able to redesign our whole summer approach. We called it Summer of Discovery, and we were able to see not only intended impacts in academic skills, but growth in confidence among students, growth in math mindset, that I can do math and I can do hard things. And also, a surprise to us among the teachers was a vast rejuvenation reported directly from them saying, I now remember why I went into teaching. So I'm asking you today to please support 1275. This is a very first step toward correcting this year's lung balance. What it will do is stop the gap from widening. We will need to continue to pay attention to that base number because of the gap, but at least the gap will slow down, the widening of the gap will slow down. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ike, for zooming in with us today. Next, we have Michelle Balland, who is the principal at Matamidi Academy in Northeast Metro 916. And then we'll have Carrie Dennison Kunesh, Executive Director for Ignite After School. If you'd both like to join us, that'd be great. And if you would introduce yourself for the record, and you may begin.
Greetings, Chair Kunesh and members of the committee. Thank you for the time to speak about SF 1275. My name is Michelle Bayland, and I'm a principal at Matamidi Academy in Intermediate District Northeast Metro 916. Matamidi Academy is co-located at Century College campus, and we have seen students absolutely excelling when they have the opportunity to graduate and move directly into the Century College school system, so it's been wonderful. We are also one of 3 ALCs that operate over 500 full-time students across the Northeast Metro Intermediate School District. Equalizing Minnesota's extended time revenue formula is crucial for ensuring fair funding across ALCs and intermediate districts, both of which serve high-needs populations. ALCs provide critical educational support for students who struggle in traditional school settings. Many students attending ALCs face challenges such as poverty, truancy, learning disabilities, and credit deficiencies. These students are typically in grades 11, 12, and 12 plus, and they are on the cusp of graduating despite these many factors against them. As Amy from Rochester just shared, the needs of Minnesota students remain acute, and while Legislature provides additional support for schools, ALC students who are served in programs like ours are not the beneficiaries of equal opportunities. The .2 ADM ALCs rely on to provide support for our resilient yet fragile students is misleading because it has not kept pace with the funding formula. Today, that .2 is actually worth about .13 pending the fiscal year 26 changes, leaving our most at-risk students shortchanged due to this legislative oversight, which we are encouraging you to change. We need your full commitment to accurately and fully account for the .2 ADM. We have had to reduce our night school and summer school due to the $300,000 deficit that this has created in our district. Meeting the needs of students from historically underserved communities from traditional school programs is critically important as Minnesota faces a persistent achievement gap and graduation rate discrepancies. There are 5 main areas that equalizing the extended time formula will impact in both alternative learning centers and targeted services. The first is the critical funding for these extended learning opportunities. ALCs heavily depend on extended learning programs such as after-school credit recovery and summer school to help these students get the extra time they need to graduate. The extended learning opportunities funded by this revenue can be a successful and proactive approach to ensuring that all students feel connected and supported in school and obtain their goals. The extended revenue would provide more support for our at-risk students. ALC students, through no fault of their own, have unmet learning needs and often need the extra academic time and alternative learning strategies to succeed. These services are the difference maker in these students' lives. With equalized revenue, ALCs and traditional schools can continue providing the interventions like smaller class sizes, individualized instruction, and mental health services to ensure these students are able to reach their goal of graduation. Equalizing this funding will provide consistency in services across the state. Currently, ALCs in wealthier districts can afford more comprehensive extended learning programs enhanced through local levy. However, in districts like intermediates and service co-ops, we do not have access to the local levy to enhance our programming, and we rely on the 0.2 ADM. It is critical for us to provide those extended services. Equalization ensures that students in all regions have access to similar opportunities, regardless of the tax base. It does reduce the financial burden on local districts. Many ALCs and targeted service programs rely on district funding, which varies based on property tax revenue. Equalized funding means ALC programs won't have to rely as much on local district contributions, ensuring financial stability. And finally, and most importantly, higher graduation rates and future success. ALC students often require additional instruction time to complete coursework and earn their diplomas. But as we have seen at 916 Matamidi Academy, more students can graduate and transition to college or careers with funding equalized in that extended revenue. In closing, while in the big picture, this is a small adjustment, it makes a significant difference for these students, our most at risk of not completing high school. These opportunities can be the difference between students reaching their potential or having a lifetime of barriers. Thank you for your attention and your willingness to address the gaps in this for our students.
Thank you, and thank you for your advocacy. And next, if you would like to introduce yourself, and you may begin.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Carrie Dennison-Canine, and I am the Executive Director of Ignite After School. We are Minnesota's statewide after-school network. And I'm here today to support Senate File 1275, which will provide alternative learning center-connected school districts with the necessary resources to continue offering after-school and summer learning programs for students across the state. And as the statewide network, I really want to stress the fact that this bill and this funding really does reach students in every corner of the state. Many of you are probably really familiar with the concept of summer learning loss, and it's the phenomenon where students can lose academic progress over the summer months. And a 2023 Brookings report reviewed recent studies, and they looked at more modern assessments like the MAP and confirmed that average test scores dropped during the summer in grades 3 through 8. And this data really underscores the importance of summer as a really critical time to sustain and expand young people's learning. Yet Minnesota does not actually have summer school per se, and there is no dedicated funding stream to support additional learning supports during the summer months. Instead, many school districts rely on extended learning time revenue to keep students engaged during the summer. For example, in St. Paul, ELT funding supports a robust summer learning program that incorporates community partnerships to enhance students' academic experience. And in 2019, Ignite After School conducted a little study on the use of ELT revenue, and we surveyed 36 school districts from urban, suburban, and greater Minnesota regions to understand the challenges that they faced. Our research found that ELT funding was vital, and everyone in the study said, please, the number one thing is please continue the source of funding. It's so critical and we need it. But they also said that current reimbursement level limits the district's ability to pay teachers competitive wages. And this can make it harder to recruit and retain the high quality educators necessary to make the program a go. This can result in larger class sizes or fewer days of programming, which negatively impacts students' outcomes. ELT funding is also not just used during the summer, but also during the school year, and it supports after-school programs that complement in-class learning. And while programs provide valuable academic supports for students, it's also critical to support working families. And so, for instance, another really cool thing about ELT funding is it's often braided with other resources to really create a comprehensive after-school program. So, for example, some places might use ELT funding to support 1 hour of academic-focused after-school programming, and then they can braid and weave other federal, state, or philanthropic dollars to support additional hours of enrichment. And these programs are crucial for many families as they allow parents to maintain their jobs while ensuring their children continue learning and thriving. Unfortunately, while the general education funding formula has increased, as you've heard, ELT reimbursements have remained stagnant. And as costs for teachers and also transportation continue to rise, these funding gaps put the availability and quality of ELT programs at risk. This is especially concerning when we consider the transportation needs, because this is after school and summer, that also need to be provided, and the rising costs of things like transportation are further straining budgets. Through our partnership with the Minnesota Department of Ed, Ignite After School has worked with districts across the state, from Grand Rapids to St. Cloud and Hopkins to Bloomington, to strengthen the quality of summer programs. And these districts are doing incredible work, as Amy shared about her expanded program over the summer. We recognize that high-quality ELT programming is more than just more school. It's an opportunity to engage students in innovative and meaningful ways. However, if reimbursement rates don't keep pace with rising costs, the very quality districts like these have worked so hard to build will be jeopardized. By larger class sizes, fewer community partnerships, reduced transportation support could all become realities. As we continue to recover from the pandemic's impact on student learning, it's critical that ELT funding keeps up with the general education revenue. The additional funding districts received for summer learning through Gear 1, Gear 2, and ESSER 2 provided a temporary boost, but those funds have now expired. And if we don't address the ELT reimbursement gap now, we risk seeing districts face difficult choices about whether they can continue to offer these vital programs as that gap continues to widen. In closing, I want to thank you so much for your consideration and support of this bill.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Members, are there any questions or comments? All right. Well, seeing none, Senator Boldon, pardon me? Senator Boldon, any final words?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just very briefly, I think the testifiers described it well. These are services that our students need, and ensuring that we are, taking action to close that gap, as we have seen as the amount hasn't changed for 10 plus years, is critical to meeting the needs of our students. So thank you for consideration.
Thank you so much, everybody. And so with that, Senate File 1275 is, as amended, is laid over for possible inclusion in a future omnibus bill. Next, we will be hearing Senate File 1457. The plan is to lay this bill over. And Senator Westlin, when you are ready, you may do an introduction of your bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. This bill may sound familiar to members of the committee because this is now the second time we are going to try to get this over the finish line. The bill today before you is Senate File 1457, which relates to cardiac emergency response plans. More than 356,000 cardiac arrests occur outside of a hospital annually in the entire United States. Nearly 90% of these cardiac arrests are fatal. It's estimated that more than 23,000 children under 18 experience a sudden cardiac arrest outside of the hospital annually. About 40% of those are sports and athletics related, which means that 60% of them are not. When cardiac arrest occurs outside of a hospital, survival more than doubles when people nearby act by dialing 911, starting CPR, and using publicly available AEDs. I want to be clear, this is not just about student athletes. This bill ensures that each school has a plan in place for when any of our students have a sudden cardiac arrest or when anyone in the building, including staff or visitors. Our students should be equally safe in their classrooms, in the lunchroom, or on the athletic field. I do want to mention as well that last year when this bill came forward, Senator Pratt was a co-author on the bill. This year, Senator Howe has a bill similar to this, and we have had some passing conversations with one another, and I believe Senator Howe intends to support this bill. So this should have broad bipartisan support again. This bill was amended in education policy, basically just to change and make sure we were accurately referencing automated external defibrillators. And there was one other minor change. But just to walk through the bill, Madam Chair and members, in Section 1, this bill would require school districts and charter schools to develop a cardiac emergency response plan to implement for the 2026-2027 school year. The plans must be available on the school website and in paper form in designated areas. The plans must also be given to all coaches and athletic staff members. What should be included in the CERP is also found in Section 1, including identifying members of the cardiac emergency response team and then guidelines for response. Other requirements are that automated external defibrillators should be clearly marked and placed in an unlocked location within the athletic venue or located within a 1 to 3 minute walk of the athletic venue. Coaches, athletic staff, and faculty must be CPR and defibrillator trained. Members of the emergency response team must participate in a cardiac emergency simulation 30 days prior to the start of each school year. There are some training requirements also found in Section 1. School districts would provide members of the SERP team with training necessary to implement the SERP. The SERP team must also provide certification that they completed their simulation to the school board. Section 2 amends 128C.02 to require the Minnesota State High School League to adopt a SERP plan and ensure that the SERP team is present at interscholastic athletic events. Section 3 would appropriate $2 million to assist school districts and charter schools in implementing SERP plans. And this can include the purchase and maintenance of AEDs or CPR equipment, fund training, and so forth. This bill is necessary, and it is timely. As many of you probably are aware, just recently in one of the school districts that I represent, a young man, a Maple Grove High School student, recently died from a sudden cardiac arrest. He was doing some training for track on his own, and this just occurred within the last week. This is a timely issue. It was timely last year. Unfortunately, what was passed last year was simply to require the Department of Education to create a model policy that could be used by school districts. That was certainly not the bill I introduced, and that was not the bill that I was hoping to pass. I do hope that this year we can get this across the finish line because it is an important safety measure for our students, but also for visitors, staff, administrators, and others who find themselves in a school building. I will reiterate again, this is not just about high school athletics. This is about a broad requirement for schools to develop a plan and have something in place to ensure that we do everything possible to save lives. So with that, Madam Chair, we do have some testifiers today and would love to hear their stories.
Thank you so much, Senator Westlin. We do have a long list of testifiers, and we do want to hear your voices and your stories. We are going to ask you to limit it to 2 minutes because we have a pretty extensive list, and we have one more bill that we need to complete in our time here. So I would invite Katie Hawk up to the table, and along with Keegan Hawk, our Stillwater High School students and sudden cardiac arrest survivor. And then after that, if Dale Wagasugi would like to get ready, and Roger Arneson, you are then on the list third. Ms. Hawk and Keegan, if you would like to introduce yourself when you speak, and you can begin.
My name is Katie Hawk. Dear Chair Kunesh and members of the Senate Finance Committee. My name is Katie Hawk. I'm a first responder in Stillwater, Minnesota. Most importantly, I'm a mother to my son Keegan, a sudden cardiac arrest survivor. I'm here today to ask for your support of Senate File 1457, legislation that will require cardiac emergency response plans in schools. On September 24th, 2024, my son Keegan, who is a Stillwater High School sophomore, suffered a sudden cardiac arrest during football practice. He was stricken during a non-contact drill, and thanks to the quick action of his coaches and life-saving efforts of the Stillwater athletic trainers who administered CPR and AED, the automated external defibrillator, I caught what you had, aid to Keegan. His heartbeat was then restored, and he was breathing on his own. He was then rushed by ambulance to the Regions Hospital and then Gillette Children's Hospital, where he was placed in a medically induced coma for 72 hours. We later learned that Keegan's sudden cardiac arrest was linked to the torsades, a type of heart rhythm disorder. Keegan's football playing days are over, but he continues to thrive as a high school student and works on fixing up cars in his spare time. No parent should have to experience what we went through with a sudden cardiac arrest. Keegan's story serves as an important need for schools to implement cardiac emergency response plans on proper planning, training, and the availability of AEDs in schools and athletic programs. Senate File 1457 will ensure that all Minnesota schools have the planning and tools in place in the event of a sudden cardiac arrest. Thank you for your time this morning to share my family's story, and I ask for your support of this important legislation.
Any words of wisdom, Keegan?
No.
No. Well, we're glad to see you here. That's all I can say.
Thank you.
We're really glad to see you here. Thank you. And thank you to your quick thinking coach and staff members that made sure that you're here to be with your mom. So thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right. Next, we have Dale Wakasugi and then Roger Arneson. After Roger, we have Norm and Kim Okerstrom, and then Tiffany Olson.
Good morning, Senator. Good morning.
Please introduce yourself for the record, and you may begin.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Kunesh and members of the Senate Education Finance Committee. My name is Dale Wakasugi, a heart attack and cardiac arrest survivor, resident of Woodbury, Minnesota, a community advocate on behalf of the American Heart Association and owner of My AED and CPR Solutions. I am pleased to be here today to offer my support for Senate File 1457, legislation that would require school districts and charter schools to create cardiac emergency response plans. I suffered a heart attack in 1995 when I was 36 years old due to a blockage of my left anterior descending artery. I was a very active non-drinker, non-smoker who played college baseball. In 2007, while refereeing a high school basketball game, I suffered cardiac arrest. One of my heroes that day was Lindsay Paradise, an 11th grader at the time, who knew how to perform CPR and use an AED from learning it in her health class just a few weeks prior. When cardiac arrest occurs outside of a hospital, survival more than doubles when people nearby act by dialing 911, starting CPR, and using a publicly available AED compared to waiting for emergency responders to arrive. I support File 1457 because we need to ensure that all schools have cardiac emergency response plans in place and practice so anyone who suffers a cardiac arrest, whether it be a student, teacher, school administrator, or members of the community, can receive the life-saving treatment they need. I want to thank Senator Westlin for authoring this important legislation, and thank you, Chair Kunesh, and members of the committee for your consideration of this bill.
Thank you, Mr. Wagasuki. Next, we have Roger Arneson. If you would like to introduce yourself for the record, and you may begin.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members. I'm Roger Arneson, and I'm testifying here on behalf of the various education organizations and the Minnesota State High School League. And we appreciate the opportunity to work with Senator Westlin on this bill. And given that we're in the Finance Committee, let me address, we talked about this in the Policy Committee, let's address a couple pieces of the finance provisions of the bill. First of all, I want to say that the High School League has had a long history working on cardiac health with Anyone Can Save a Life, a program that we've been involved with over a decade. And in that time, our foundation has purchased over 400 AEDs for use in high schools throughout Minnesota through grant programs, and we purchased another 50 this year as we move along through that. A couple of pieces in the bill that I think that we need to look at. Line 2.11 actually would require each school and each school facility to have AEDs available. We referenced earlier here, I think, Senate File 1791, which is Senator Howe's bill. That bill actually provides $20 million to provide the AEDs for the schools to use out there to place these. This actually would require schools to buy those without the funding. We ought to buy as many AEDs as we can afford and as much money as you can give us to buy them. The fantastic thing about AEDs, if you look online about them, is it'll say they require no training. You open the box and they actually tell you how to work them, and anyone in this room could work an AED today. And so let's be, just very direct about that. How much money do you want to spend on AEDs? Where can you spend these? There are some other funding mechanisms that you've used in the past. You increased operating capital for us a couple years ago to deal with opioid issues, the menstrual cycle pieces. So we would say, and you know this is no surprise to Senator Westlin or to the committee. As education groups, we tend to resist unfunded mandates. The mandate that's in this is a very good idea. And good ideas sometimes are expensive. And so we need to talk about paying for that. In addition, for the training, just to give you an idea of the scope, I did a little check on the numbers before we started. We have about 530 member schools in the State High School League. So if you're thinking about the number of athletic fields to go with the 500 schools, how many AEDs we're going to have, we have somewhere between 18,000 and 25,000 coaches and assistant coaches. So the training for those folks, you can do the math, that those numbers start to add up. So there's a significant local impact in terms on the cost. On the policy pieces, obviously, we can do that and should do that, and I think we will do that. We have mandatory training for coaches and assistant coaches. This is already part of the training, not CPR training, but AED awareness, et cetera. So we're going to continue to work with the Heart Association on this with some ideas. They have some ideas from other states of how the funding's worked, and continue to work on the policy components of this as well. We think this is a very good idea. And just a question of how much does it cost and how can we move forward on that. So, Madam Chair, I'd answer any questions that you might have, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Arneson, and thank you to your foundation for providing the AEDs that are already there. Perhaps they could continue doing that on an annual basis, and that would certainly help fund some of those expenses. And when we talk about the training, I don't know if you're under stress, if somebody's having a heart attack and pulling open the box and reading the directions in that moment. I don't know how many of us could really function under that kind of stance. So any questions so far? All right, thank you very much. Next, we have Norm and Kim Okerstrom, and then Tiffany Olson.
Madam Chair Kunesh, members of the committee, due to an upper respiratory condition with my wife, I will be reading her testimony this morning and then followed by my testimony as well. Good morning. My name is Kim Okerstrom. I'm reading as my wife now. This is my husband, Norm. We are residents of Plymouth. I'm a member of a grassroots organization called the Minnesota SCA Advocates, which is newly formed last year in 2024, and a longtime member of Parent Heart Watch, which is the national organization solely dedicated to protecting youth from sudden cardiac arrest and preventable sudden cardiac death through education and advocating for change. Chairman Kunesh and members of the Senate Education Finance Committee, thank you for the opportunity to share our personal testimonies in support of the Cardiac Emergency Response Plan bill, Senate file for schools, file 1457, and thank you to Senator Westlin for sponsoring this bill. I would like to take you back almost 16 years ago to June 16th of 2009. Our son Teddy had just turned 16 years old on June 4th. And just like Keegan here, he just, on his 16th birthday, he got his driver's license. He was looking forward to the second day of his summer conditioning program called Trojan Power at Wayzata High School with his football team. I was working in my office when Norm called me at 11:03 a.m. He was frantic and said, "Kim, Teddy collapsed. They're doing CPR on him. Get to the school. I'm heading there," and start praying. This was our introduction to the horrific world of sudden cardiac arrest, often called SCA, or as the medical community calls it, as we soon learned, sudden cardiac death. What happened? Why? How could this happen to a perfectly healthy young athletic 16-year-old? We learned that Teddy had been running light sprints at the end of the session, and with more than 100 teammates running in lines, Teddy collapsed face first onto the turf field. His teammates alerted Coach Matt Lombardi. Coach Matt ran to Teddy's side, and Teddy appeared to be having a seizure. He then quickly stopped breathing, and his face and lips turned blue. Matt quickly realized that this wasn't a seizure at all, but this was sudden cardiac arrest. He didn't have a cell phone on him. He yelled to another coach to run to the school to get the AED and to call 911, and then he started immediate chest compressions. When the AED arrived, Coach Ryan Johnson, who is the strength and conditioning coach currently at Wayzata High School, applied the AED and it took one shock to convert Teddy's heart from the deadly arrhythmia of ventricular fibrillation to a normal pulse. Because of these life-saving actions, Teddy was able to finish high school and graduate from college. He is currently a middle school teacher, history teacher in Denver, and is working on a master's degree in counseling. He loves to ski in the winter, and he likes to hike the 14ers in the summer. But we are the minority of parents. Less than 10% of people survive an out-of-hospital cardiac arrest, and SCA is the leading cause of death on school campuses. More than fires, violence, accidents, head injuries, or natural disasters. Over the past 15 years in being involved with Parent Heart Watch, we have gotten to know many parents whose child died in very, very similar circumstances. We have seen the pain and anguish as they grieve the loss of their sons and daughters, and we have tried and are trying to do so today to work alongside them to prevent any other parent from losing a child to SCA. That is why we are here today to ask you to champion this bill. This bill currently includes key components for success. It includes a requirement. Schools must implement a cardiac emergency response plan. It holds the school board accountable. The school board's accountable. Leadership and accountability is key when implementing a plan. And it requires monitoring and training, an annual review to ensure the school is ready to respond each year. Implementation of this bill will ensure our wonderful Minnesota schools are prepared to save the life of someone's precious son or daughter. Thank you on behalf of Kim. Madam Chair, Kunesh, members of the committee, I'm Norm Okerstrom. I'm testifying in support of SF 1457, SERP, CERP, and school bills for schools. When sudden cardiac arrest strikes, there is no warning. Unlike a heart attack, which is often confused, is a plumbing problem of one or more blocked coronary arteries. Sudden cardiac arrest is an electrical issue. It's a problem that causes the heart to stop pumping altogether. The person collapses, and without quick and appropriate response at the scene prior to EMS arrival, the person in cardiac arrest almost always dies. It is critical that our schools are prepared and have a practice plan in place and available AEDs. This includes the understanding of the cardiac chain of survival. These are the key links or steps that should be taken immediately when someone collapses. First of all, recognition of the signs of sudden cardiac arrest, calling 911 and have another person, if one's available, to get an AED, and then immediately start chest compressions. Once the AED arrives, turn it on and follow the voice and picture instructions until the EMS arrive on the scene and takes over care. Just think today, over 1,000 Americans of all ages will suffer a sudden cardiac arrest. Unfortunately, 90% of these individuals will not survive. Recent data from the American Heart Association states that of the 356,000 affected by SCA, 23,000 are young people under the age of 18. Parent Heart Watch, the national voice for the prevention of sudden cardiac arrest in youth, also states that 1 in 300 youth have an undiagnosed heart condition that puts them at risk for sudden cardiac arrest. Sudden cardiac arrest happens to anyone, anytime, any place, and at any age, and it just, as you unfortunately had to mention, Senator, it happened again to a 16-year-old Maple Grove male high school student who collapsed outside of the school on February 25th. And tragically, he died. His caring bridge site said that this young man had a lively spirit, a passion for science, sport, and life. His funeral was held yesterday. When someone collapses from sudden cardiac arrest, whether it's a student, teacher, staff member, or volunteer, or a visitor at our schools, the chance of survival decreases 10% per minute. Immediate bystander intervention with hands-only CPR can triple the chance of survival. Using an AED before EMS arrives can boost survival rates up to 90%. I'm almost done. Implementing a cardiac emergency response plan, a CERP, C-E-R-P, in schools is neither difficult nor burdensome. In fact, I know this because I initiated the effort to help Wayzata High School become a Project Adam recognized heart-safe school in 2024 while I was employed as a student supervisor. In a nutshell, this is how we implemented the CERP plan through Project Adam at Wayzata. First, there must be support from the principal and other leaders to ensure success. Project Adam, as well as the American Heart Association, will provide a very easy-to-follow template to set up a CERP team. We identified and invited logical staff members, a few key teachers, and members of the administration to form our CERP team. Our district nurse presented the newly formed team with information on sudden cardiac arrest and the need for rapid response. For those not previously trained in CPR and the use of an AED, we provided training which took a mere 90 minutes. After our team was trained, we all agreed upon appropriate language to be used over our school-provided radios and trained our floor office personnel and teachers how to initiate the CERP team for rapid medical response. Once we felt like we were ready, we invited the Project Adam team from Children's Hospital to conduct a mock sudden cardiac arrest drill at the school where they would time and evaluate our response. This was conducted while students were in class, so there was no disruption. We passed the test under the time limit, which was a big relief for all of us. Members of our CERP team commented afterwards that they felt empowered personally as well as felt good about having worked well as a team and that there was actually a plan in place in case something were to happen. We took feedback from Project Adam and representatives and implemented suggestions they offered into our plan. Each year, the Wayzata CERP team will review and practice the CERP to become more and more confident and proficient. In closing, implementing a cardiac emergency response plan for schools is not difficult, but it will take thoughtful leadership, commitment, planning, and accountability. The bill does not add an additional load on our teachers. Only a select few might be asked to be on a CERP team, and many of these teachers self-identify and appreciate the opportunity to be a part of this team. The bill does not take students out of class, unlike other mandatory school drills, which we had to run quite often when I was a student supervisor. Requiring schools to have a well-thought-out written practice CERP, as well as funding additional automated external defibrillators where needed, and providing funds for CPR training where needed, which will help each school community to be a much safer place to work, teach, learn, and play. Thank you for your thoughtful consideration and support of Senate File 1457. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Okerstrom, and so glad to hear that your son is one of the survivors and going on to a
Yep.
teaching profession, which is absolutely fabulous.
Yep,
Thank you so much.
Sorry, we're blessed.
You are. Next, we
Madam
have-
Chair?
Oh, question? Yes, Senator Swedzinski.
Thank you. Can you read that sentence again? I don't know how buried it is in there, but I really need to hear that again, that you said that cardiac arrest fatalities for our youth outnumber all those other incidents that we think. I don't know if you can find that, but I'd like to hear that sentence again. And where did you get that information? That statistic would be really helpful as well.
I believe it was on Kim's testimony. Where are we?
And while you're looking, could we have Tiffany Olson please come to the table? And we'll get ready for that.
We'll get that.
Yeah, it's okay. I'll have Senator Westlin get it to me. Thank you for trying to find it,
Yep,
though.
it's most likely it's from Parent Heart Watch, the national voice for cardiac arrest. Parent Heart Watch.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yep, thank you so much. So now we have Tiffany Olson, and if Tracy Cornea would like to join at the podium as well. Ms. Olson, if you would please state your name for the record, and you may begin.
Good morning, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Tiffany Olson, and I am the Director of Communications and Strategic Development at Shakopee Public Schools. And Madam Chair, if it's okay, I'll let my colleague introduce herself because we would be testifying together, if that's okay.
Good morning, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Tracy Cornier, and I'm the Supervisor of Health Services at Shakopee Public Schools.
As key members included in the strategic development of Shakopee Public Schools' district-wide approach to cardiac safety, we are here to attest to the critical need for a comprehensive cardiac emergency response plan in every school across the state. The fact that this effort is being championed at this level is beyond commendable and deeply resonates with our district. It's exciting to see the bill's progression and potential. Personally, I'm also very connected to this effort as I have Wolff-Parkinson-White syndrome, which puts me personally at a higher risk for sudden cardiac arrest. A comprehensive and effective cardiac emergency response plan has been a long-term priority for our district in Shakopee. We've worked diligently to ensure it's well-planned, visible, accessible, and clearly communicated because we understand that readiness in these situations is paramount. Shakopee serves roughly 8,000 students, has 10 schools, and spans roughly 378 total acres. Our commitment to cardiac emergency preparedness extends far beyond athletics and activities. It is a fundamental aspect of our daily school operations. Our buildings are occupied during the school day and well into the afternoon and evening hours, furthering the need for proper support and resources. At Shakopee High School alone, we've had roughly 60 community events occur outside of a typical school day in the past 12 months. Minnesota school districts are community spaces where hundreds and thousands of individuals of all ages gather, thus increasing the need for proper safety resources. In the spring of 2023, Shakopee Public Schools was proudly designated the first heart-safe school district in the state of Minnesota as certified by Project Adam, which you just heard about. The requirements of this certification directly align with those being presented in Senate File 1457. In Shakopee, the certification was made possible due to the support of donations led by Janie Hennis, a registered nurse and a community member, in addition to other efforts from our own students, Children's Hospital, and the Shakopee Police Department, to name a few. Due to the voluntary community leadership that was initiated in 2018, 42 of our district's 54 AEDs have been donated.
Madam Chair and committee members, health and safety is a shared responsibility that shouldn't fall solely on school nurses and emergency responders when every minute counts in saving a life. As part of our response plan in Shakopee, we have designated teams in place with roles that have been clearly defined and AEDs that are strategically located in all of our buildings. All of our schools have multiple devices both inside and outside of our school buildings and in common spaces. We have a designated district-wide phone number that is easy to recall and will quickly activate the appropriate cardiac response team. We emphasize purposeful and repeated training that builds muscle memory and confidence in our staff. Per Project Adam, the best chance of saving a life is within the first 4 minutes of sudden cardiac arrest, and early and effective CPR has been demonstrated to double the chance of survival for children and adults. The need for established cardiac emergency response plans in both public and charter schools is real. The accessibility to AEDs and a practice plan are critical to saving lives. And thanks to planning resources from partners such as Project Adam, we can also confirm that these plans are truly achievable. Having a cardiac emergency response plan should not be an option for schools. It is an immediate necessity. Schools are public spaces, and the lives of Minnesotans depend on the amendment outlined in this bill. We are here to affirm that it should be done, it can be done, and it will make a difference. And with this bill, all Minnesotans will win. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you both very much for sharing that information. And the last one that we have here is Rana Bidi Kolash. Thank you for joining us. If you'd state your name for the record, and you may begin.
Good morning, Madam Chair, committee members. My name is Ronnie Beatty Kolash, and I am representing the Minnesota Athletic Trainers Association. I'm testifying today in support of Senate File 1457. I am an associate athletic trainer at the University of Minnesota, and have been a practicing athletic trainer for the past 24 years. My athletic training education has prepared me for emergency situations of many types, including emergency cardiac care. There have been many situations where athletic trainers have been the first responders responsible for preparing and managing cardiac conditions, both for the patients we care for and for the coaches, support staff, family members, and fans that attend the events we provide medical coverage for. Sudden cardiac death is the leading cause of death in young athletes, and every second counts when we are faced with these situations. Between our training and education and having an emergency action plan for emergency events, we can deliver the highest level of healthcare to life-threatening situations. Every second counts when we are faced in situations, and having more trained individuals, cardiac emergency response plans, and having AEDs in close proximity and accessible at venues is paramount in saving lives. I am also a parent of 2 teenage boys that have been involved in youth and high school athletics within our community of Rogers, Minnesota. My youngest son, Quinn, who is a sophomore at Rogers High School, recently completed his first season of high school hockey. We made the state tournament for the first time. There is nothing more frightening than seeing your child sustain an injury, and I cannot fathom the terror of seeing my child having a cardiac event and not having the assurance that there are AEDs and trained professionals on site to address those issues. My son was diagnosed with a very rare neurological condition when he was 9 months old. He was paralyzed from the neck down. He has transverse myelitis. Quinn was very blessed to have very good care early on in his life and now plays high school hockey in Minnesota. Wow. He is one of the rare things, and even though this isn't a cardiac event, I have witnessed my child be with a life-threatening condition. Thank you for allowing me to present this testimony in support of Senate File 1457, and I truly hope we have your support.
Thank you so much for sharing your story and for advocating for this cause. Any questions, members? Comments? Senator Swedzinski.
Thank you, Senator Westlin, thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Senator Westlin, for bringing this bill forward. It's a great bill. I do have one question for one of the testifiers. I know we're short on time today, but if somebody from Shakopee, if you do have an answer, come on up. in a letter that was in our packets, it says, due to the voluntary community leadership that was initiated in 2018, 42 of our district's 54 AEDs were donated. I'm just wondering what process Shakopee schools used in order to get, 80% of their AEDs donated, and maybe other school districts could learn a little bit from what you did. To use a community resource, and maybe the Rotarians and Optimists and VFWs and Hardy Boy clubs of the world could. Yeah, that was for a member in the audience. We could all learn, maybe, perhaps. So thank you for your whatever you're about to say.
Thank you, Senator.
Ms. Olson, if you just state your name again for the record.
Yes, Madam Chair. Tiffany Olson with Shakopee Public Schools. May I address?
Yes, please.
Thank you. We really have to give credit, as I mentioned, Janie Hennis is the wonderful individual's name. She is a longtime Shakopee resident, and as a registered nurse that has worked in cardiac, she personally initiated fundraising efforts and went exactly to a lot of the groups that you mentioned, had gatherings, worked with local businesses. Shakopee does have a lot of local businesses to be able to donate these AEDs, and then worked with our Buildings and Grounds Department to ensure that maintenance and everything else was handled appropriately. So she really spearheaded that, but I will say on her behalf, the community rallied around it. The costs were not extremely high, where it was roughly $1,500 to be able to get one AED with a plaque. And then they can opt in for maintenance opportunities every 3 to 4 years. So the investment was minor, and obviously the benefit was great, and the community latched on to that.
Senator Swansinski.
Madam
ahead.
Chair, so whoever, you said Nancy?
Senator Janie Hennis is the individual. Yeah.
Whoever she is, to all the people in the world right now and watching in the cloud, one person can truly make a difference, and her efforts are much appreciated by me, and I'm sure everybody in this room right now. So let her know, whoever she is, how she's left the world a better place.
Yes, Senator.
Thank you, Senator Swazinski, and thank you for all those community members that are organizations that rallied around this. So, Senator Farnsworth, do you have a question?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. And I remember discussing this last year, and I have 4 children that are all in sports, and it is terrifying. So the questions that I have are financial. It doesn't reflect that I don't support the bill. I'm just basically wondering if if the $2 million that you have in an appropriation is enough, because Mr. Aronson said there's 585 school districts in Minnesota. And I'm just thinking about my school district in Hibbing. I think we would need 11 of these. And if you extrapolate that to bigger and smaller districts, I'm guessing then that would, lead to thousands or tens of thousands. Is it possible to amend this to increase the amount to make sure that schools, and you had mentioned Senator Howe's bill, and I think somebody said that had a $20 million appropriation. If we're going to do this, which I think we should, I think we should fund it. So I'm just wondering your thoughts on that, Senator.
Madam Chair, Senator Farnsworth, my understanding from my very brief conversation in the hallway with Senator Howe is he just kind of picked $24 million for his bill. I don't know that there was an actual fiscal note done on that. I'm certainly happy to look at increasing the $2 million, but I know Ms. Beatty-Kolash had something to offer on this as well.
Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
My name is Ronnie Beatty-Kolash. Again, I'm representing the Minnesota Athletic Trainers Association. I also will speak to we live in Rogers, Minnesota, and so when my kids started playing hockey when they were young in our association, so the Rogers Youth Hockey Association, we have a relatively newer arena, and it did not have any AEDs in the building. And that was my first thing I did as my kids signed up for hockey, is I created a cardiac emergency response plan, presented it to our hockey board, and then we applied for a grant through the NHL and the Minnesota Wild that secured us one AED in the building. And then when we actually ran through our plan, we realized that in the lobby of that, if something were to happen on ice or in the varsity areas, which is on the other side of the arena, our response time was over 3 minutes, which is unacceptable for us. So we ended up having our Hockey Association fund the other one. The cost of those has come down significantly. Again, they're very easy to use. So that was just one way that as a community, we did that as well. I'll also point out that as an athletic trainer, we hear about athletes suffering cardiac events almost daily throughout the country. There's an electronic magazine that we get. And what I will say is every time somebody dies, like the student athlete at Maple Grove High School, there is a huge community outpouring and a huge boost in that. And my question is how many kids will have to die before we finally get AEDs in every single place that they need to go to. I know it's a daunting task. However, for something as simple as having an AED, it is heartbreaking for us as athletic trainers that this continues to be a topic of conversation when we know it is an effective way to reduce those fatalities.
Thank you. Follow-up?
Oh, yes, thank you, Madam Chair. And I agree with, I think I agree with all of that. 20 million, 40 million, if it saves one kid, it's money well spent. But I think there are a lot of communities that probably aren't as fortunate. They don't have somebody like you that is creative and thinks about how to get grants. And so, my thought is if this is something that we're going to do, we should make sure that schools have the resources. And then my second question is, I noticed there's nothing in here to offer any support for private schools. And I know in my Senate district, there are 3 private schools, and they have gyms, and they allow, I mean, it's not just for their own internal Phy Ed classes, but they allow the community to come in and use it, for volleyball or basketball. I'm also wondering, is there a plan at some point to allow the private schools to voluntarily participate in this? I know that it's more difficult to force that, but just wondering if you're open to some sort of a voluntary program to allow the private schools to participate.
Senator Westlin?
Madam Chair, Senator Farnsworth, so the Department of Education has created a model SERP plan, and that is available to all schools currently. I don't know how many schools have actually taken advantage of that, but it seems like that might be a starting point. I know Project Adam and some of the other organizations would probably be more than happy to work with any school, including our private schools, to develop these plans and figure out how to get those implemented.
Thank you. We have Senator Lucero and then Senator Rarick, and then we're going to move on to the next bill. Senator Lucero.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Senator Westlin and the testifiers on this. This is definitely an important topic. And on we just heard something to the effect of we need to save lives, and what can we do to streamline that process? So along those lines, just some logistics issues. As I'm looking at this, so the school district and school district or charter school must develop the cardiac emergency response plan. And then on line 1.2 and 1.21, it says that plan must be available on the school website and in paper form at various locations. So my questions are where on not familiar with the various school websites, where do you envision that this would be? Is there a tab or where on the websites would this be? And then in the paper form, what would that be? Is it one copy at each facility, or where would you envision that these hard copies have to reside?
Senator Westlin?
Madam Chair, Senator Lucero, I'm going to say that's local control, but I think that the school would determine where to have it prominently placed on their website, and I assume there would be a tab. But my friend here would like to respond to your question as well. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Madam Chair. We typically, when we post the emergency plans, they're a one-page document that are posted in and around where access points are. So, in and around bathrooms, in and around the first aid rooms, in and around exits and entrances to facilities next to the AED. So the goal is that if you have to retrieve the AED, you grab that right off the wall. It's a laminated sheet. It gives scripting both for 911 calls, and also, like I said, the AEDs are very user-friendly. You turn them on and it will walk you through what you need to do with that. So that's how we implement that at school level and at the University of Minnesota as well. We print as many as we can, we laminate as many as we can, and we put them in as many high point areas as we can.
And Madam Chair, actually, my my other friend here would like to respond to that.
Go ahead.
Building upon that too, visibility is one of the most important components of this plan because it is not something that should be a secret. The AED visibilities are very important, but there's not a high cost to ensuring that those understand the very quick process that can occur. And from a staff perspective and student and visitor perspective at Shakopee Public Schools, we've worked to amplify that, and it's integrated into building and grounds, it's integrated into classrooms, health services, and really every part of our school operations without impacting anything negatively.
And just, Madam Chair and Senator Lucero, I think that part of sort of developing the CERT plan itself is also determining where the appropriate locations are. And it sounds like as many high visibility, high point areas as possible. And I think each school building is going to be a little different. So that is part of what the CERT team, I think, would develop. And again, as to where on the website it's placed, I think that would be up to the school district, but I would assume it would simply be a tab that probably says CERT plan.
Senator Lucero.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for that clarification. Then just another logistics question. On line 2.19, it says that the training of the emergency response team must participate in a simulation at least 30 days before the beginning of each school year. Not familiar with when staffing is hired, et cetera. Is staffing complete at least 30 days before the beginning of a school year, or just wondering how this would fit in with staffing and then the time requirements for the training for the simulation?
Madam Chair and Senator Lucero, I know this is one part of the bill that I've actually been talking to some stakeholders about, and it could be just having a requirement that it's done once a year as opposed to a specific 30 days. I'm certainly willing to look at maybe making that modification. Is that kind of what you were, just once a year? Yeah, go ahead.
Building upon that as well, it's very easy to morph into August is generally a time frame in Shakopee Public Schools where we have extensive onboarding and training opportunities, and then within the first 30 days of hire, this is a voluntary selection in our school district to be a part of that team, and that opportunity is provided by my colleague who was up here earlier to ensure that we constantly capture and train. So I can say in Shakopee Public Schools at minimum, it's done once a year, and there's visibility and training exercises that occur more than that without issue to our operations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Senator Rare, quickly.
Yep, thank you, Madam Chair. My concern on this is in Shakopee, how long did it take you to develop the plan and get it implemented and in place?
Thank you, Senator.
Go ahead.
Madam Chair.
Yep.
Thank you. Roughly 3 to 4 months. My colleague who was here, Tracy Cornier, she worked with students, and that was with Project Adam as well in Children's Minnesota. They took the basis that we already have and the knowledge on site and formalized our cardiac response plan, did the testing that was mentioned earlier by a previous testifier, and then we were certified shortly thereafter. So 3 to 4 months, and that was with students being involved in that process and our district having accessibility to AEDs that did help us expedite that.
And Madam Chair, and Senator Rarick, just to be clear, there is a model plan that has been prepared by the Department of Education that I assume districts could adopt that, but their Project Adam has done a lot to work with schools. But there is an existing model plan. We just want schools to make sure they have one.
Senator.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Just a quick, I get it, and it's just, we heard from a number of our really small schools, they just don't have the administrative folks to handle all of the stuff that's coming at them, and to have this in place for every school by the 26-27 school year, we heard from a number of folks, they're doing 3, 4, 5 different roles at schools, and then to add this in on top, some of them might not be able to make this. So I would sure hope that we would at least have some consideration of that. Everything that's being thrown at our schools, our very smallest school districts, if they just don't have an ability to make this happen in that kind of a time frame, that we would give some consideration to that.
And Madam Chair, my only response to that, and one of the reasons why this bill is being brought forward again to make this a requirement, this model plan that's been adopted or prepared by the Department of Education has been available. we do have organizations that are certainly willing to work with any school district, especially in the training piece. And so obviously the point here is to try to work with schools and make sure that they have the opportunity to get this plan in place, but it does not sound to me like it's anything that should take a significant amount of time to do.
Thank you. All right. Any last words, Senator Westlin, or was that it?
I'm just going to say, Madam Chair, it was a good bill last year. It's a good bill this year. Hope we can get across the finish line.
All right. Thank you so much. So with that, Senate File 1457 is laid over for possible inclusion in our future omnibus bill. Next, we have Senate File 1462, which is my bill, and I am going to invite Senator Clark, there he is, to take over so I can have my bill.
Thank you. As you heard, our next file is Senate File 1462. If the first testifiers following Senator Kunesh could also start to come a bit closer as well. Today we will be laying over Senate File 1462. Senator, please move Senate File 1462 before the committee.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Chair Kunesh. To your bill.
All right, members, this bill is basically the Pelsby bill, and as we have heard this already in policy, and as our Senator Duckworth said, this is making an efficiency bill, and so this is some good change for our schools and our school districts. This bill supports vital operations, including the ability to process and issue teaching license in a timely manner. It supports the continuation of alternative pathways, such as licensure via portfolio and the heritage language pathway, which are increasingly important as we address the teacher shortage. There are reporting requirements, rulemaking, training availability, the Professional Educator Licensing and Standard Board, adoption of rules, requirement for board approval, teacher preparation programs and reading strategies, terms of Tier 1 license and renewal, collaboration, responsibility transfers for collaborative urban and greater Minnesota education of color grant program, and many more items. And so, given the time that we have left, I would like to begin with Dr. Yelena Bailey, the Executive Director of Pelsby, as my first testifier.
Thank you. Welcome, Dr. Bailey. Please introduce yourself and begin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is Dr. Elena Bailey. I'm the Executive Director of Pelsby, and I want to thank Senator Kunesh for authoring this bill, which, as she stated, really supports vital operations, including our ability to license 110,000 teachers across the state of Minnesota, as well as to support alternative pathways to licensure, which are incredibly important during the time of teacher shortage. And we are excited to share about our Heritage Language Educator Pathway Program. I did have some slides. I'm not sure if those will work, but I'm going to just provide a very brief walkthrough of the bill and then be quiet so that you can hear from some amazing testifiers. Section 1 of this bill simply moves a reporting requirement for the Teachers of Color and American Indian Teachers report to the Department of Education. There we go. Sections 2 through 4 move the voluntary paraprofessional credential at MDE in alignment with their jurisdiction over non-licensed staff. Section 5 removes an outdated reference to INTAS standards, the standards of the teaching profession, in favor of current standards, and removes some obsolete reporting requirements. Section 6 is a technical change, removing redundant language. And Section 7 removes a requirement that Tier 1 teachers have to take but not pass a content exam before renewing their license. So this will help streamline renewal for districts and teachers. Sections 8 through 13 move 2 grants over to the Department of Education, the Collaborative Urban and Greater Minnesota Educators of Color Grant, and the Teacher Mentorship and Retention of Effective Teachers Grant. Last year, Pelsby administered $17 million in grant funding, and these are important programs that support our teacher candidates and our teachers. However, the growth of grants at our agency has outpaced our size and our capacity, which is why we're proposing to move those to the Department of Education. Section 14 simply aligns an alternative teacher preparation grant reporting requirement with the administration of that grant. Sections 15 and 16 just move over the appropriations and the grant-making duties. But Section 16 also does something important for the Board of School Administrators. In 2018, you all as policymakers transferred the duty to issue administrator licenses to the Board of School Administrators, or BOSA. However, as my colleague, the executive director there, and I discovered when we came into our positions, that didn't quite get implemented. And so we're seeking one-time IT funding and one FTE to enable BOSA to begin processing and issuing their licenses. I'll quickly just show this map because Section 17 is incredibly important in supporting alternative pathways to teacher preparation. This shows from the online portfolio platform we use, ProServa, which we began using just a couple of years ago. Across the state of Minnesota, there are individuals who've expressed interest or submitted portfolios, and so this really is a pathway that's serving both greater Minnesota and the metro area. The last row of this provides some data that shows, as of this year at the halfway mark, we've already issued more licenses via portfolio than we had the previous year or the year before. So it really is a pathway that's growing in interest, and particularly as we look to fill teacher shortages, so supporting this is incredibly important. Section 17 then essentially provides operations funding to cover staff salaries. It funds portfolio review, as we need experts in teacher licensure areas to review the standards to ensure we have rigorously prepared educators in our classrooms. It funds the Heritage Language Pathway Program, which later you'll hear that we have licensed the first Korean language teacher in the United States. It funds alternative pathway programs such as portfolio cohorts, where we work with districts to help get groups of Tier 1 teachers licensed through portfolio and shortage areas. And then it funds the online portfolio platform, ProServa. The last thing I'll mention is that SF 1462 does not include an appropriation for the Preparation Pathways Grant Program. That was designed to support alternative pathways, such as licensure via portfolio. So instead, PELSB recommends reallocating those funds to the things listed in Section 17. So that's a very, very quick overview, so I'd be happy to answer questions later. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, we have an online person, Chair Asuji, and as we're bringing them up, if Dr. Roberson, if you could make your way up, as well as Samira Abdurrahman. Go ahead, Chair Asuji. Introduce yourself and share your testimony.
Good morning, members of the Senate Education Finance Committee. Thank you for the opportunity to testify regarding SF 1462. My name is Dr. Angelo Suji, and I am the chair of the Professional Educator Licensing and Standards Board, otherwise known as PELSB. I am also a licensed science teacher with over 30 years of experience. I am actually speaking at this time in room 103 from East Middle School with some of my special education students. PELSB is responsible for licensing 110,000 teachers in Minnesota, establishing the state standards required to be a licensed teacher, and covering the state's nearly 700 teacher licensure programs. Our board's mission is to ensure that all Minnesota students have high-quality educators in their schools. SF 1462 provides vital funding to implement this vision, ensuring PELSB remains fully staffed and can process licenses on time. It also supports essential pathways to licensure, such as the licensure via portfolio and the heritage language education pathway. An African proverb made popular by Nelson Mandela says, when you speak to a person in a language he understands, it goes to his head. But when you speak to him in his language, it goes to his heart. This heart teaching and learning is foundational to PELSB's heritage language educator pathway. It is also the core of all the supportive work that PELSB does to support the needs of all Minnesota students. It speaks to the social and emotional learning of students and supports their mental health development. Educators in the pathway and students learning the language have found learning spaces turned into places of learning. I am speaking also from Shakopee Public School, where over 80 languages are spoken within the school community. Students who enter school with a strong mastery of their heritage language develop stronger literacy abilities in the school language. Not surprisingly, the opposite is also true. When students are encouraged to reject their heritage language, their language foundation stagnates, leading to more significant challenges in their heritage and dominant language. It is vital that we continue to invest in education, especially given the current situation. I ask for your support in this work. Thank you, Senator Kunesh, for believing in educators and authoring this bill. I sincerely hope that the rest of the committee will join you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Asuji. Dr. Roberson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee members. Zalshongao. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning. I am Dr. Akila Roberson, Policy Director at Education Evolving, a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization that drives transformational student-centered designs for learning. Thank you for this opportunity to testify in support of Senate File 1462. Mary McLeod Bethune once stated, "We have a powerful potential in our youth, and we must direct their power toward good ends." You may recall that members of the Education Evolving team requested your support in 2023 in cultivating this powerful potential in our youth by establishing the Heritage Language Licensure Pathway with Pelsby. You made it possible, and thank you. Most of you have heard from us in other committees, and we want this moment to be given to the teachers and students who are directly impacted by this work. Before you hear from them, just 3 points for your consideration. Firstly, 47 educators representing 9 languages comprised the first licensure cohort last spring. These educators hailed from 18 school districts across the state, from Austin to Pine City. Secondly, 40% of the cohort have already attained full licensure, including Minnesota's first licensed heritage language teachers in Somali, Korean, and Amharic. And finally, Pelsby just opened applications for the second cohort and received 64 applicants. The demand continues and the beat goes on. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Roberson. Online, we have Samira. Samira, if you could introduce yourself and go ahead, and if the teachers and students could start to gather at the front as well, please.
Good morning. My name is Samir Abdurrahman, and I am a multilingual learner teacher at Willow Creek Middle School. I want to thank you for the opportunity to testify today in support of the Heritage Language Pathway licensure. I was part of the first cohort, and I became the first Somali licensed teacher in the state of Minnesota. When I first started preparing my portfolio, I struggled to find Somali literature covering various aspects of the Somali culture, even on major celebrations like Eid. I created my stories based on personal experiences and added the skills that I wanted students to learn. To bring these stories to life, I collaborated with local high school students who helped me produce an educational video in Somali. When they learned that I obtained my license to teach in Somali, they eagerly shared that news with their parents and also with their peers. Parents soon approached me expressing their desire for their children to learn Somali. And the youth that approached me also expressed their desire to learn Somali and pass it along to their children, and also their concerns about losing their language and culture. This desire to reconnect with one's heritage language is not unique. It is something that resonates with many immigrant families whose children risk losing their native language and while acquiring the English language. It doesn't have to be one or the other. and my family is also, this hits home as this includes my family. The Heritage Language Pathway Licensure helps address this need by bringing more heritage language teachers into the schools, ensuring that children born to immigrant families feel validated, valued, and empowered in their linguistic and cultural identities. Thank you for listening to my testimony in support of the Heritage Language Pathway Licensure.
Thank you. Ms. Czar, if you could introduce yourself and
Thank
give your
you,
testimony.
Senator Committee. Good morning. My name is Ethel Czar. I am a teacher at Johnson Senior High School in the St. Paul Public School District. I hold 4 teacher licenses, 1 for English as a second language, 1 for math, and for Korean language, and a K-12 administration license. I stand here today to emphasize the vital importance of the Heritage Language Pathway Program. When I arrived in the United States as a refugee, the Korean community was largely invisible and no language class or teacher to support us. I often reflect how a journey would have been significantly different if this resource had been available. As the first Korean licensed teacher in the U.S., I can confidently say that the Heritage Language Pathway had transformed my life and the life of my students. This program has allowed me to reconnect with my root and has empowered my students with pride in their language and culture. More importantly, it has allowed me to share this knowledge with my students, many too who are eager to learn about the history, language, and the culture of Korean people. Without programs like the Heritage Language Pathway in Minnesota, we would miss the opportunity to honor our heritage and teach the language that was once banned in our home country, Burma. This initiative is not just about teaching the language, it is a powerful tool to foster pride, resilience, and unity with our endurance for generation. I stand here as both educator, as a proud member of the Korean community, requesting you continue supporting for the Heritage Language Pathway Program. It is essential for preserving our cultural identity and empower for the next generation of leaders. Thank you for your time and your commitment to initiatives that create a meaningful impact to our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Czar. And if our students from Central and Johnson could come forward as well. Please introduce yourself and welcome to the committee.
Good morning, Senators. Good morning, Senators. My name is Paul Wah, and I take Korean classes at Central Senior High School. Korean class has given me an opportunity to dive deeper into my heritage and make deeper connections with my family and community. Something that I really like about this class is how I can use the things taught in class outside of class. Before I took Korean, I wasn't able to have a full conversation with my grandma, and it was difficult understanding what she was trying to say. But through Korean class, I was able to have meaningful conversations with my grandma where I actually understood what she was saying, and this helped me connect to her on a whole new level. My understanding of the Korean language was surface level before I had gone into this class. I could not write at all, but as I practiced my Korean in class, I was able to write paragraphs, and I developed a wider vocabulary to use in conversations, which helped me to connect to my family on a whole deeper level. My experience with Korean class has made me take a step back and look at my community and life with an open perspective. Through lessons about the history of Korean people, I became more aware of how my community is full of people coming from various backgrounds and cultures, which made me look at things with a new perspective. I'm incredibly grateful for all the people who make this program possible. I also gained confidence to share my culture with others and to talk to people with different perspectives. You know, it's always really nice having a class that I can look forward to where I can comfortably ask questions and get answers to. And also I'm really grateful to my Korean teacher, Ms. Czar. But most importantly, Korean class has helped me to be confident in my identity and to embrace my Korean culture. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. And if the student from the Pride of the East Side Johnson Senior High School could come forward. Please introduce yourself and share your story.
I am Lair Clairemont, a student that attends Johnson High School and a student of Ms. Czar. Firstly, I want to say thank you for your time, and I want to start off that current class has helped me immensely. It's helped me learn how to speak and write in my language and read as well. But not only that, it's helped me learn so much more about my culture. It's helped me learn how we can create our own traditional clothing. I've learned so much more about my culture, how we came to be, our upbringing, so much more. And I'm so grateful to be learning in the U.S. and having this opportunity to learn my native language. I know my parents are extremely proud of me because I'm able to speak with them clearly in their native language and my native language, and I'm extremely proud of myself, and I know that they're proud that I'm able to read their writing and that I'm able to write my own and read and give them letters in my own language. And it terrifies me to think that the Quran, as such a small minority, that we might be lost to time. And that is why we need more teachers like Ms. Czar to teach us and our future youth. I'm extremely grateful to have this opportunity to learn my native language, and it's given me so much more confidence in my language. And before this class, I couldn't write or read a single character in my language. But after that class, and still attending it, I'm learning so much more, and I'm able to read and write proficiently. I've never been so in tune with my culture before, and because of this class, I've never been more proud to call myself Korean. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your story. I know we're at time. We have one more testifier online, Laurel Webster. Please introduce yourself and share your story.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for letting me testify today. I am actually in class right now. My students are listening, so this is kind of an interesting experience for them. They are writing essays about Romeo and Juliet right now. I was asked to testify in support of the licensure via portfolio program. I recently obtained my Tier 3 license in Communication Arts and Literature for grades 5 through 12 this past November, and I was extremely fortunate to be able to take part in that program. It not only saved me considerable amounts of money to obtain the license, it allowed me to explore what kind of educator I wanted to be. So I did go back to school to obtain my Master's of Education in my late 40s, so I am a little bit of a late bloomer and a mature educator. With a change of life, I decided that I wanted to pursue teaching. For about a decade, I worked in the school district in Dawson-Boyd, working in the office as the assistant to the principal. And I decided that I wanted to go back to school to become an educator. So I pursued a Master's of Education at MSU, and while there, my advisor suggested that I look into becoming an English teacher, and that is where I am today. So the licensure via portfolio program allowed me to obtain my Tier 3 license and continue to work. Along when I was in my master's program, as it was online, I was able to continue to work while I was pursuing my license and my education. The licensure via portfolio program on PERSOVA is very rigorous, but it also allows us to fill gaps where we might not have that same training through a preparation program. For example, there's a section on racial consciousness that I dove deeper into through the PERSOVA program, and through that I was able to attend conferences held by the Shakopee Sioux community, and through that educator program I was able to obtain free books written by Native Americans and also receive funding to obtain more books and go on field trips. And so it has not only allowed me to obtained my Tier 3 license, but it's also expanded my knowledge base, expanded my classroom literature, and expanded my knowledge as a teacher, and allowed me to become a better teacher than when I was first hired as a Tier 1 teacher. The portfolio program also allowed me to remain in the school district where my children are, and so that was extremely beneficial to me as a single mom. And my time is almost up. So I would just like to end by saying thank you for giving me the opportunity to present to you today.
Thank you, Ms. Webster. Members, any, noting the time, Senator Kunesh, any closing comments?
Thank you. I just want to say a few things. Thank you to the students that took time out of their day to come and share their stories. I wish our GOP members would be here. There's not a one in the room to hear those really heartfelt words from them. And I know how important it is to have pride in the language. My children are, their father is Middle Eastern, and they've learned to speak Arabic and appreciate the culture that goes along with that. And it's really so important when we talk about brain development and executive function. I know that's only part of this bill, but I just want to end with something that one of our speakers, testifiers said. She quoted Mahatma Gandhi, "When you speak in their language, it goes to their heart." And that really spoke to me, and the fact that we are able to ensure that our students have language and cultural connection in order to really develop that full child. It makes me really proud, and I'm just really proud that we were able to bring those voices into our hearing here today. So thank you.
Thank you, Senator. And with that, Senate File 1462 is laid over for possible conclusion in the future omnibus bill. A couple of closing announcements. There will be no hearing tomorrow. And more importantly, today is Senator May Quaid's birthday. So happy birthday. We will have hearings on Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. Please note, Monday is Tribal Sovereignty Day. Please participate in the different events and meet with the tribal nations of Minnesota. Tuesday, we'll be hearing from our state's tribal contract schools and hearing bills related to them. And Wednesday, we'll have a collection of bills that we'll be posting either tomorrow or on Friday. I must mention all eyes are on the federal government again. USDA has canceled over $13 million in contracts for school meals, and we are hearing reports of Department of Education layoffs today. I am happy to speak up, and I will ask my GOP colleagues to also speak up, as they may be able to get through a bit more quickly than me. So with that, the meeting is adjourned.